Hey everybody, welcome to the week 3 discussion board. So in the discussion board, we're going to take a little bit of a break from Outlook, kind of like we did last week. Remember, we talked about OneDrive and hardware and software, but in discussion, we talked about social media and we talked about kind of the role that social media plays in our lives, whether good or bad or both. And so often I like to try to kind of sometimes take a break, not always, from whatever we're reading about or learning about in a given week, but then transition to something that still is kind of applicable, right? It has to do with web technology or computers, but may have more of an ethical bent to it, to kind of challenge you to think a little deeper. So we did that last week. This week we're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about information literacy. So information literacy is one's ability to be able to find and interpret information effectively online. Now there's more to it than that, but that's it in a very brief nutshell. This is one of my areas of specialty, one of the things I went to graduate school for. But it's an important subject, and so I hope that we get a lot out of this discussion. Essentially the question is this: what do you trust online? Or how do you know what to trust online? Information literacy is there to, you're trying to learn the skills to better decipher information online, to determine reliability online, to see what really is maybe true versus opinion, that kind of stuff online. And that's a hard thing to do, especially in the age of digital media, of social media, all sorts of things that are vying for your attention. And so they may tell you certain things, news stories, for instance, that may come from a certain perspective, but may not be entirely true, may not be the full story or something. And on top of that, there's a lot of just flat out bad information online. There's lots of conspiracy theories. There's lots of people just trying to capitalize on the gullibility of viewers and readers, just so they can make a buck and they can get more people to view their videos or something like that. There's all sorts of things out there. The reality is you can put anything you want online, right? So the question is, how are we savvy consumers of information, digital information? How are we wise consumers of digital information? So that's what we're going to talk about this week. How do you go about determining reliability online? When you're reading something, when you see something that seems controversial or shocking on Facebook, or somebody tweets out something you think that just seems too good to be true, I don't know about that. How do you determine that? What steps do you go through to evaluate a certain source, to evaluate a certain certain story? Truth is, this is becoming more difficult, but because there are fewer, even kind of mainstream news outlets have been caught, even recently, kind of not telling the full story on certain stories, or even fabricating things at times. This does happen. And we need to be very careful with this, right? Again, how do we become wise consumers of information? So that's what we're going to talk about this week. So come really ready to learn and kind of wrestle with this big subject with your classmates. Come with examples and maybe with some tips and tricks that you've learned along the way, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. Thanks, folks.